Hello, how you doing? Welcome to the channel. If you are new here, hopefully you go on to enjoy this video, right? And I'm speaking low because I have no idea how to start this video. Um, so I chose something. I made a choice, and I've listened to this audio about Alan Watts about how. See, that's like one of the things that I really, when I heard it, it was a time where I needed to hear it. It's an audio in this pep talk app that I have about choice, right? And it's like, well, it comes from one of his, seminars, whatever you call it, speeches, whatever. He would go and teach people, um, and it's like you sometimes I want you like what he does is he gives you like a thought experiment, right? And he wants you to play with it. And he wants you to experiment with it, right? I'm sure anybody watching this, you're not new to Alan Watts, and it's like one thing that he does want you to experiment with is this idea that you could be like a cloud, right? That you could be just like a wave, and that do you see a cloud? And genuine question, right? Do you would you say that you've ever seen a cloud make a mistake? That you've ever seen a wave make a mistake? That you've seen a badly shaped wave. You've seen that's an ugly wave. It's just like it's like it's kind of a stupid question. You like you sort of scratch your head and you raise an eyebrow at that question. You're like, well, of course not. That's fucking stupid. It's like, well, you'd be right. It is very dumb, and it's like, well, just like in that sense, because um, really you're working with all the concepts and all the words because you're limited by language in a weird way that I never knew. You are very limited by language because you have to go to the foundations of what created language. We didn't create language, right? It was created for probably some primal purpose. So a lot of the times, Alan Watts, when he's trying to get off these concepts, and even the people 2,000 years ago, whatever thousands of years ago, the actual people from the East that he gets all this philosophy from, they probably didn't have much words to give either, right? They probably couldn't find the words. They realized this shit is more complex than any language we've used, right? But it's also like try to imagine yourself, right? To go back to what I was saying, try to imagine yourself as being a wave, like just for a day, right? Like be a cloud, right? See yourself as somebody that can not really make a mistake because I mean you're kind of being that makes mistakes anyway. That's what you learn from. It's kind of what you're here to do. It's like a mistake is also a concept. It's like could you really make a mistake? An imperfect being. I mean, are you really making a mistake in relation to what really? It's just like you're making the decision with you're making the best decision possible with the amount of data that you had at a certain given time. And it's like well, when you think about it, and you have this sort of uncertainty about your decision, you think and you're like, oh man, did I take enough data into consideration? And then when you think about it, well, you realize you really could never actually take enough data into consideration. You just made a choice. That's it. And I realized I'm going a bit too long. Let's get into it, man. Let's not fuck around anymore. Let's not, But yeah, it's that audio. It really spoke to me when I heard it because I felt like I had done something stupid and I felt like I had made a mistake, and it really helped me, right? Because I was like, okay, I'm actually gonna use this and try to experiment with this and see myself as a cloud in a sense, right? Like, could I really make a mistake? I just made a choice. That's it. That's all we ever do.
People turn to philosophy.
I'm actually
Why I became a philosopher was that since I was a little boy, I always felt that existence as such was weird.
and I agree with him on this. Right? Like I have a natural philosophy.
Here we are.
I am naturally just kind of a philosopher in a sense. I question.
Of course, it's odd.
I'm curious. Well, that's what it is.
What do you mean by odd?
And you question, yeah, it is
what's
odd.
Different from even.
I have a little bit of green tea here.
What's odd stands out. What's even lies flat. But you can't see the outstanding without the flat background. Here's the thing standing out. It's odd. Each one of you is odd.
Are we standing out because we're conscious? Because we're self-aware? Or are you talking about all life?
Something even.
Right?
That is not differentiated.
Which goes against the second law of thermodynamics.
And so you get this philosophical itch. You begin to scratch your head and think about why is that so?
Why is that so? that it's
Well,
odd.
after a while, you realize that's a meaningless question. And you ask, how is it so? Well, that leads you into science and other investigations.
Could you really have a meaningless
So
question,
you
though?
want to know, what is it? I mean, this happening, this thing called existence. What is it? You ask that question long enough, and it suddenly hits you that if you could answer it, you wouldn't know what terms to put the answer in. I mean, when we investigate the properties of nature, and we do get some answers, all the answers are in terms of particular structures.
And it's crazy. I think about it and I'm like, oh my god, it's like you'd think somebody would have these type of lessons today with the knowledge that we have now. I mean, of course, well, you know, I mean, it's not like he's crazy long ago, but he died in 1973, dog. Like I'm pretty sure he died before my mom was born. And my mom is pushing 50. So just like think about that for a second. How long ago this guy lived and what he knew at the time that he was alive. I mean, of course, by that time, I mean, in the 1900s, you know, we went crazy with science. I mean, science was just going bonkers, making new discoveries like every day. But it's like, dude, it's crazy.
Patterns.
50 years ago.
And these can be measured, and their behavior can be predicted.
To know this 50 years ago is crazy.
Ask the question, what are the forms made of?
To know this thousands of years ago, because
I mean,
this
what
is
is
off.
it really?
This is off
We can't
Eastern
think
philosophy.
of any way in which we could answer the question, because we would have to have a class of all classes. When you ask the question, what? It's like saying, is you
is or is you ain't?
Is you animal?
Is you vegetable? Is you mineral? Class of all classes.
Are you a Republican or a Democrat? Are you male or female?
So he's basically just saying vocabulary is not
Hindu
sufficient.
or what have you.
Our language
We
is not
classify
sufficient.
always to give an answer to the question, what is it?
So we must not
And
classify
when you
anything at all.
classify, you distinguish an inside group from an outside group. Right. So what we want to know is, what is the group of all groups? Well, we can't imagine what the outside would be. So we can't answer the question. What is it? So the physicists finally abandoned the quest for stuff. And they gave us a description of the universe entirely in terms of form.
Yes.
The pattern, not the stuff. When people ask, what's the web? Yeah, but you can't do that. What's the pattern made of? Surely mustn't there be an answer to that? See, what happens is,
energy.
when you turn up the microscope, all stuff turns into form.
I mean, it's just manifestations of energy. Turns into form. Right? It's all just energy at the fundamental level, right? What he calls wavicles. Right.
It becomes articulate. You know, the carpet looks like some sort of stuff. But when you look at it under a microscope, you will see the crystalline structure of the nylon or whatever it's made of. See? They want to know, what are those crystals made of? All right? Turn up the volume, and you'll find molecules. Turn up the volume.
You find
wavicles.
Wavicles. What is that? Fancy word for
But
waves?
the wavicles must be of something. But of course they're not.
Like, there has to be a lower level for that? Like something smaller?
Stuff totally vanishes. They say, does it matter? What does that mean?
Matter.
Does it matter? Is it important? In other words, does it measure up to anything?
Measure up to what?
Matter comes from a Sanskrit root matra.
Oh, I love when he does this. I have no idea how he
means to
knows
measure.
that stuff.
So
Crazy.
from this root matra, we get going on into Sanskrit, we get the word maya.
Like the Mayans?
And maya is generally translated illusion, although it also means
Says who?
magic.
Says who, Alan? You know what? I believe you, though.
Illusion,
But I need you to bring up some sources.
we get that from Latin, And that comes from the Latin ludere, to play. Let's pretend.
Shit, I'm gonna get an ad.
That we matter.
Well, I don't think you need to pretend. I think most of us.
To create a document with
I mean, look at the world we live in today. Motherfuckers are so infatuated with that idea that they matter, that they're important. They're the most important person on the fucking planet. And I mean, you don't. Let's pretend. I don't think motherfuckers is pretending anymore. I don't think there's any pretending going on at all. I mean, well, technically, it's like if you think about it from like a bigger perspective, like motherfuckers are pretending. But like themselves, they don't think they're pretending. They think that they actually fucking, they're like the kings of the universe or something.
See, the world is a musical phenomenon.
Yes.
Good music never refers to anything except the music itself. You don't ask Mr. Bach, Mr. Ravi Shankar, what do you mean by this music?
I said this in the last video.
What is it intended to express? Listen.
Just listen.
That's the meaning.
Just let it play.
Giraffes are giraffing, trees are treeing, stars are starring, clouds are clouding.
And
rain
people are peopling.
And if you don't understand, look at it again. And people are peopling. Wow. We notice that all these suchnesses appear and disappear. They keep changing. They come and they go. But if you get hung up on your particular form, I'll have to alter the language a little bit because, you see, your form makes a duality.
A duality is what?
Whereas you are your form.
Okay.
You're what you're doing.
Yes.
Now, you think, for some strange reason, I must make that go on as long as possible.
Must keep living. Yeah.
And therefore you think you have an
It's in our
instinct to
nature.
survive. And so the only thing anybody
Well,
can agree about
do you
today,
just think you have an instinct? I mean, let's be clear here for a moment. You don't just think you have an instinct. You genuinely do have an instinct to survive. It's in your biological makeup. Like, that is how I'm designed. I'm designed. Who? That motherfucker needs to charge his phone. But I am designed to want to survive. I have like
discussion of ethical and moral
shit in me.
are concerned is that we ought to survive. And therefore, certain forms of conduct have survival value and certain forms don't. But when you say to yourself, you must go on living, you put yourself in a double bind.
I'm not gonna hold you. I feel like he's losing me a little
To a
bit.
process which is essentially spontaneous, that it must happen.
You know why? You know why? I think I'm struggling to concentrate because I've used up all of my attention today, man. Like, you don't even understand. Oh my god, what the fuck happened? What the hell? What did I click? What did I click? How long ago did I fuck that up?
Is imposed upon.
Dude. Fuck. Ah! I didn't have to see the wrong page. Foo, I think I can't concentrate right now because of how much I concentrated on the goddamn podcast. I will not stop talking about it. Oh my god. I was locked in for 2 hours as I was working today. Because when I work, it's like quiet and I'm by myself and I can just chill and like listen to music or listen to a podcast. And that's what I like about it. But it's like, dude.
On all children is you are required to do that which will be acceptable only if you do it voluntarily. So when we say to ourselves,
What does that
you
mean?
must go on.
So you're supposed to do things involuntarily?
You see, that we are not living in the eternal now, where reality is. We are always thinking that the satisfaction of life will be coming later. Don't kid yourself.
He talks about that a lot.
Only suckers put hope in the future.
Yeah, I mean, what he means by that basically is, I've also said this Oh, you see, I always mention this shit. I've talked about this as well. It's like I've mentioned his saying of which really stuck to me, which was there's no point in planning for a future that when it becomes the present, it's not the future anymore. It becomes the present, right? And it becomes now, and you're there. There's no point in planning for that, right? Like he said, you must be a sucker. Like there's no point in hoping and planning and thinking about and being and like just having this illusion of the future and like being stuck there, right? Planning for a future that when it becomes the present and you get there, you won't actually even be there for it because you'll be off in some other future like pretty much everybody else nowadays. I mean, one of my accounts is called Never Satisfied. We do have the tendency to do that. To just never like ever be in the present. Now, I don't tell people to not be in the present. It just means, I'm not necessarily ever going to be satisfied with where I am as long as I'm here. I will keep striving to have more than I do now, right? And that's normal, right? You're not gonna tell me that that's a bad thing that I shouldn't do, right? But I'm not gonna complicate my life either. I'm not gonna make myself miserable by not being able to live in the now just because I don't have what I have. I mean, I've said this. I have gratitude. I have a gratitude journal, and it's like I have to be able to appreciate and accept the present, But that does not mean that I'm not gonna still make an effort to try to have a better future, to try to have better things in the future, to have more, money, which I can spend to have all those great things. Which is, I'm not looking for the money itself, of course. It's for what I could do with that. I could give it away. I could, have so much good things happen. I could become a philanthropist. I could do all of these things. I could make Mr. Beast type videos. I could have my gaming channel, right? I could have a great computer. Will I have great content, right? I mean, most of that would just kind of have to come from me. Would have to come from me being entertaining. But it's also like, well, I have financial freedom. I could do all of this. I have a few plans. What I'm gonna do: podcasts, do these videos with the boys, the friends. Um, it's like definitely, definitely. But it's like I have to be here at some point because I can't just plan for a future that, like, could I never celebrate? You got to be able to celebrate and be happy about what you have, appreciate it, and accept it. But also try as long as you can. Go for better. Go for better because why not? I want to have both. I want to have gratitude and appreciation for the present and be present, but also, do my future self a favor and make things better if I could know what better was, right? And it's like that's how I see that, man. And anyway, that's been that. It will give you goosebumps. Alan Watts on Existence by True Meaning. Let me know what you guys think about that, man. Let me know what you guys feel about Alan Watts. I mean, he's just. I feel like I'm almost getting to the point where I'm getting past his teachings now because it's just like now I was on to something crazier, man. I can't. I would react to the whole podcast if I could. I would at some point I will most definitely watch it all over again. It's just 2 hours, but it's like I would react to the podcast if I really could. I promise you, I would 100% react because oh my god, it was so good. You guys got to go watch it, man. The Joe Rogan podcast with that guy. Um, I didn't search him up this video. What's his name? Bobby Azarian. That guy. Fucking yeah. Anyway, man, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like. Make sure you subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next one.